Hello and welcome to the Swallows Charity Head and Neck Cancer Podcast. Join us on a head and neck cancer journey, presented by Derek Luthwaite.
Hello everybody.
And Chris Curtis.
Hello everyone.
We'll be discussing everything that patients and caregivers need to know about diagnosis, treatment, and so much more.
I'm CEO of the Swallows Head and Neck Cancer Charity, and I'm also a cancer survivor for nearly 10 years now.
And I became a caregiver when my wife was diagnosed with mouth cancer, and it certainly put me on a journey that I never expected to experience during my lifetime. Hello everybody, it's Derek again, here with Chris and a special guest today. We have with us Laura Marston. Now Laura is a cancer survivor, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her story. Life pre-cancer, what happened to her during her cancer treatment pathway, the result, and actually Laura is an author, and today she's going to tell us all about a fantastic new book which has just been released about preparing, cooking delicious food, I have to say, for people who have eating problems and difficulties. But I'm not going to touch on that subject. I'm going to leave that to Laura. She's the expert. So first of all, welcome, Laura.
Hi, how are you doing, Derek?
I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for joining us. Chris, how are you doing, matey?
I'm doing fantastic, and yet again, another patient and no carer. I win again.
Yes, well, I'm working on that. I've got at least 3 people lined up to come and do.
I booked holidays on those days.
I appreciate that, Chris. So, Laura Marston, please tell us a little bit about what you were doing, what your life was like before you discovered that you had a cancer.
Sure. Oh gosh. I lived in Bolingbrook with my husband. Before cancer, they got married in June of 2016, and they had no children. They would socialise with friends. I would go to work. I was a recruitment specialist for a menswear company, so I did a lot of talking, a lot of meeting people. Did a travel up and down the country, seeing my friends, doing our hobbies, seeing family. I'm a qualified chef and head decorator, and I've been a chef, so food is a massive part of my background. And yeah, I've just had a nice life, really.
Then one day you woke up, something happened.
Well, yeah, so in October of 2018, I cut my tongue with my toothbrush. And didn't think anything of it. It healed, no problem. And then a few months later, I felt a sore, but then that disappeared. So I just thought it was the wound. I've opened the wound again, blah, blah, blah. Had a trip to the dentist. They didn't see anything suspicious, and life went on. But this sore would come and go. So over sort of November, December, January, the sore sort of appears for a couple of days, maybe 3 or 4, but then would disappear. But then as time got on, so around about February, the sore remained and started to make me wonder what was up. So I didn't think of going to the dentist because I'd been with them once before and they didn't see anything. So I tried booking an appointment for the doctor. Unfortunately, where I live, that's harder than putting teeth out of a uniform. And I didn't get seen until April, because I didn't feel it was, I didn't think of cancer at the time. I didn't think it was too much of a worry. But then just before the appointment, the sore remained and started to go hard, a bit like a callus on the fingers. And that's when I started to worry. So when I saw the GP, so it was like, oh, you're too young for cancer. It's not this. And I said, it's now an ulcer. And I had another ulcer under my tongue. And it was right at the back. So they couldn't see it. I had to really, really look. Like, I had people shining torches in my mouth to have a look. And my doctor was adamant it's not cancer at all. but so completed a cancer referral form in front of me. And I ticked all the boxes for all the symptoms. So an ulcer that's been there for more than 2 weeks, a pen that comes and goes, another ulcer appearing. Like, so I went down the list. The only thing I didn't have was weight loss, unfortunately. And within 3 weeks, I had PET scan, CT scan, MRIs, and then the biopsy. So I had the full lot. And then 5 days after the biopsy, they told me and said, they have what they believe is stage 4 cancer.
Can I just stop you there and ask a quick question? When you, after you'd had all your scans and you'd had your biopsies and your tests, I assume you were called back to the hospital for what you would hope to would be a diagnosis meeting.
Yes.
Did you go on your own, or were you accompanied at this point?
I went with my husband,
Right.
just because I had a feeling, because of all of the tests that they were doing on me, I thought, do you know what, this isn't going to be good news. And I just had a feeling that I needed someone with me. And so I took my husband with me.
Can I ask you, had you, by this time, I mean, I know you said you hadn't, in the earlier stages of your symptoms, you hadn't thought about it as cancer, but are you now beginning to think, this is cancer, this could be cancer?
Yeah.
Had you talked about it?
Only once, and that was to someone at work. So they were talking, I was trying to have lunch, and I was like, oh, my tongue is so painful. And so I was like, still there. And then I went, yeah, I'm having tests, but you know what? I think it's cancer. And didn't reply, because what can you say to someone when they go, I think I have cancer? There's nothing positive you can say, because they don't want to give false hope.
Yeah.
So she just kind of went, oh, and then carries on doing her work.
I know it's a difficult one. People don't have, they don't always know how best to respond to hearing that news. It's a difficult one. Can I ask you at this point? You're sitting in the meeting. You've been told the bad news. How are you feeling at this point? Is it a relief, or is it a shock that it's what you've heard?
Oh, it was mixed. I think my very first thought was, I've gone on holiday at the weekend. What's going to happen now? Just I didn't know how fast they would react with everything. So my first thought was, but I'm going on holiday. Followed by, well, this is pretty bad. Followed by, my poor husband, how's he going to cope with this? And then I've got to tell the family, how did this happen? This was a Monday morning. I'm like, wow. What a bad start to the week. And then they were so compassionate. So they said to us, go home. Don't think about it. They know it's hard, but don't think about it. They do surgery like this all the time. They were in safe hands with us, and they'll do our best to do the best treatment as possible. So I felt very reassured by them. And then 10 minutes from start to finish, we were in and out and went home. 10 home, made a cup of tea for me and my husband, and I just went, well, that was fat news, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And didn't know else how to react. It was like, I can't believe this is happening. Because there's always a part of you that goes, it's not cancer. It'll be something else. It'll just be an infection or an ulcer that is a bit more stubborn and usual. It'll be this massive list that you hope it is, and not that one thing that it really is. And so they ended up, I phoned my parents, I phoned my family. They're all spread across the country, so my mum's in Oxford, my dad's in Manchester, my brother's in Cheshire, my sister's in Leicester. And within 6 hours, they were knocking on my front door saying, got time for a cup of tea. So, and that kindness and family connection and love just blew me away.
Can I just cover one point here, Laura? Did you see this now as a fight, a challenge, something you were going to rise up to, or did you feel like you just wanted to sit in a dark corner and, maybe think, oh, why is it happening to me?
No, I think it didn't really sink in. So I just accepted it. I didn't feel numb. I didn't get emotional about it. I just accepted it for, well, okay, this is something I'm going to have to do.
Right.
It's not until, oh gosh, it was about 4 days later when, so I had to go to the hospital the next day to talk about genetic my surgical pain, my consultant and stuff. And I'll be honest, that was terrible. Because it wasn't the hospital I was diagnosed in. They sent me to another hospital. That's the luxury of being in London, is that there's a lot of hospitals around. So they choose the right hospitals to do the fast treatment.
Do you think, Laura, that our wonderful female population deal with the news better than the male population?
Yes and no. I'm in talks with some people who, for them, it's devastating and they're not sure how they're going to cope. Others have just thought, well, let's pass on with this attitude. So I think it's more about the person rather than the gender.
Great answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I just ask how did your husband respond to this news? Because this is obviously going to it impacts you obviously because you've got the disease,
Yeah.
but as I know from sitting as a caregiver, it impacts the other person in your life as well.
He turned around to me when we got home and went, "We're gonna fight this, and we're not gonna give up." And that was sad. That sort of took that part away from me at the time because I had so many other things I was thinking about.
Right.
More about the long term. So I'm someone who plans and organises things. And I had 4 holidays planned, I had Christmas, and I was having my anniversary in a month's time. So I was thinking of all those, and he was like, let's fight this, we're not going to stop, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
It was fantastic.
Okay. Really, I'm pleased to hear that because that's exactly the approach I took with my patient. It was, we're going to fight this. Can I just ask you to briefly tell us now, having been diagnosed, what the impact of the treatment and the post-treatment has had and how it's impacted on your life to this stage?
Sure. So my cancer was stage 4. My tumour was 8 centimeters long, 5 centimeters wide, and 4.2 centimeters deep. So it took over most of my tongue, and they had to remove it. I have what is medically called a sliver of tongue left, so I have nothing. Impact-wise, I was originally told I would never talk again, I would never eat again, and I would have to have a permanent tracheostomy to help me breathe and talk. Devastating. However, my speech and language team are like, they will help you as best as we can, and we'll try every trick as possible. So there's rehabilitation and the tools of rhythm, plus other things like research. I went to spit and itch and do all that. I had a feeding tube for 10 months, which I didn't lose as much as I thought I would need it. But that was a massive shift in it. So if it offered it, what of it tool that is. I had the tracheostomy for 7 days. I was in hospital for 9 days and 10 home. The hardest thing was meditation, trying to sort that out because everything was all over the place. The hardest thing that I learned was to eat. So no tongue means I can't move food around my mouth, and I'm also a high risk for choking. My husband has done the Heimlich on me 7 times so far. We're hoping no more. But I also developed dysphagia, so I couldn't swallow. So that bred its own fun and entertainment while trying to learn to eat. But exercise and things I've given has helped remove that. But eating takes me a good hour, if not an hour and a half. Sometimes I get so bored of chilling, I just don't eat my dinner. I have to drink a lot of water with my food. And when I say a lot, I'm losing in between a litre to a litre and a half of water per meal. But I can eat everything, so I'm not restricted in what I eat. Although I know some patients do find that they can be, so it's all on person by person. I obviously have a speech impediment. My husband and I recently changed our surname because I couldn't say it. So then trying to book appointments for doctors and things on the phone, I couldn't tell them who I was. So my husband and I recently changed our surname to Marston because I can say that. And it's given me back my independence, which had been impacted on. Going through regular therapy and all those endless hospital appointments were hard on the body. So things like getting on the bus or trying to book a taxi when they can't talk and they're so rubbish was debilitating. But lots of time people do end up helping, which is just amazing. And my husband pens in with me for some appointments. But then to the treatments, I found I couldn't eat food. But watching my husband eat pizza or have a curry or something was a nightmare because I'm stuck on insulin going through my feeding tube or learning to swallow soup and things was just a nightmare. And I couldn't find anything out there that would help me eat. There was no YouTube videos, there was no recipes, no online stuff, there was nothing out there. I even bought the cancer research cookbook and another cookbook designed for cancer patients, but they all got solid food and I couldn't have it.
The Swallows Charity Head and Neck Cancer Podcast is designed to help and support both patients and caregivers.
Before we move on to the cookbook, because that's going to be a really, really important part of the segment that we're going to talk about, am I right to say that you've obviously had your tongue removed, you've had to relearn how to eat without the use of your tongue, and I can't even begin to imagine how difficult that is. Were you able to take the food orally through the mouth from the early stages after your treatment, or did you have to go onto a peg feed to start off with?
I had the feeding tube, so mine was a red, same as a peg, just a different name and inserted slightly differently.
Okay, so you've overcome all that. You fought that battle. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping that you're going to tell me that despite the results of the operation and how it's left you, you're in remission.
I am cancer-free of 18 months now.
Well, that's fantastic. That's a winner is always a good advert for our NHA staff. But it's as a result of the difficulties you were having personally from eating and the lack of choice in terms of having ideas and recipes. I think that's what sort of lit a light bulb for you and set you off on this path of becoming a world famous author.
Yes. So I was talking to a friend of mine about how frustrating this is, about not being able to find something that I can eat. And I was moaning at her that my husband was sitting there with a pepperoni pizza and I got soup. I was on mentor. And so then make their own. Didn't know what to do. Make recipes simple so patients aren't standing for 45 minutes prepping up food. Put in time so they can sit down, so something that put this on visit for half an hour so they can go and have a rest. Do it. They've got the time. Do it.
Chris, can I ask you now to sort of take Laura through the story of her becoming a world famous author?
Yeah, well, it was nice just to sit here. Normally, as you know, Derek, I interrupt all the way through you normally talking, but to sit there and listen to Laura talk was incredible and very inspirational. So I
Indeed.
didn't feel that I even wanted to interrupt. Thanks for sharing the story, Laura. Obviously, we spoke some time ago about this wonderful idea of a cookbook. It certainly sparked an interest with me and the Swallows because I've been thinking about a cookbook for patients for a long time. All I needed to do was find that wonderful author that was going to put it all together, and there was I talking to you. So, what made you, from that day, decide? You know what? I'm going to put all my effort into making this happen, but work with the Swallows to make it happen.
For me, well, as you know, I've leucisized, so I've had one of the health packs, the mouth hair packs, to help me when I was going through dry mouth. I actually got one sent to a friend who's been through the same problem. And that led me to listen up more about the Swallows and about what the guys do. And it's not just about sending out mouth packs. It's about all the other things, about helping with research, helping other patients. And it's not just for the UK. The guys do so much across the globe than the international conference. So I was like, this charity can help me to help so many other people. Why would I not want to take this opportunity up to spread the word and help many people? And so when they offered to help sponsor the birth and get it sorted, then it just felt the most natural collaboration ever.
So, who's the cookbook aimed at?
Send to everyone, so everyone with head and neck cancer, but also their families. So there's part of the books that are there for men that are on liquid diet, to having a small appetite. So anyone with cancer knows what it's like then on chemotherapy and radiotherapy. The appetite goes. So the small bites, the light bite bit, is for there. But then there's the men meal section, which is designed so you can put dinner with the whole family and feel that belonging in them, because not being able to eat with your family is so debilitating and isolating that you just think, if I can't do this part and be a part of the family, what else can't I do with them? So food is so sociable. It's not just about nutrition and living, it's about communication and love and all of those bits. So being able to share bread and enjoy food with your family then makes you feel part of that.
Well, I've always said until someone's had food taken away from them, that they realise that how isolating that can be, not just for the person who can't eat, but also for the family, because it can be isolating for them as well. So the cookbook I thought was a great idea, and I've been involved in it since we've been putting it together, and I've seen the recipes. And the front page, it looks phenomenal, and you know the sales are going absolutely silly. I got an email only today asking for 6 copies to be sent to the States, you know, and it's just gone crazy. So there's a lot of menus in there. I think, is it 102 pages? I think in the end, was it, or something like that?
There's about 102, and there's 70 recipes in there.
Yeah, so you got 70 wonderful recipes. If you could pick one favourite out of them all, what would it be?
It would be pepperoni pizza soup, because when that smells amazing. When someone has pizza in front of you, oh my word, it's such an iconic smell. Evocative of memories of teenagers and when I created it, I couldn't believe how much it tasted just like a pepperoni pizza. And the idea is to make a batch and then buzz up batches in the freezer so they can then defrost it. No messing about. And there. that when I had the last bite of that, I was so disappointed. But there's some more in my freezer. But that is superb.
So, listening to the story you talked to Derek about, I'm assuming it has two memories then. Obviously, you always wanted to eat a pizza and you couldn't. Your husband was eating pizza and you couldn't. So, obviously, that's why you picked out the pizza as well, because it's got that lovely memory there. I know there are some drinks in there. So, I don't think there's any alcohol in any of them, is there, on this version?
No alcohol.
No. So maybe version 2. Yes, Derek.
I was just going to say, are we doing an adult version of this book?
Yeah, there will be an adult version coming out, but I think that's edition 6. So, being someone who doesn't drink, I'm not bothered about the alcohol. So, I think with the books as they are, if you could pick one drink out, what would it be?
Oh, it would be it's M4. So it's the chocolate orange M4. So mixing 2 M4s together creates another flavour. And I was fortunate enough to be given M4 plus juice and the M4 plus milkshakes. And I got bored one day and was like, do you know what? I have 196 bottles of M4 sitting in my kitchen. And I'm like, if I waste 2, that's not going to matter. So I mixed the chocolate one with the orange juice plus, and it was the most tastiest thing I've ever had. It tastes like one of those well-known orange chocolates, but has the...
No advertising on our podcast.
Absolutely. But it has the consistency of a custard, so smooth and silky. So if it's too thick, add some milk. If it's thick enough to help build up the swallow, then have it as is. I ended up serving it with some extra cocoa powder and grated orange and blend it with some ice. And for a hot summer's day, that was just such a treat for lunch.
I'm really, really interested to know how eating with the family has changed or improved. I have a picture in my head of you all sitting around the table and you're eating a liquidized version of what everybody else is eating, a solid version, or is everybody trying the same version that you're having?
Well, for me now, I think it's solid food. Lockdown has been fab because I've been able to concentrate on eating.
Yeah, it's a good job this podcast is not visual, otherwise you'd see how much Derek's been eating.
Oh, that's good to be for you, Chris.
I've put in so much weight. So I can eat everything now. The only thing I struggle with slightly is peanuts. So whole nuts. But a few weeks ago, I finally had a medium to rare steak, with chips, a béarnaise sauce, and some salads. I had no issue with eating, but during recovery, I would make things and see if the family wanted to try them to see how they felt about what I was eating, and then vice versa. So that was really interesting.
Well, if you ever need a food taster, you can always call on me, because I'm happy to stick my face and my nose bag into absolutely anything. And I am one of the world's greatest fans of soups of all size. So I can't wait to try your pepperoni pizza soup. As soon as I get my copy of the book, I'm on that one.
You're listening to the Swallows Charity Head and Neck Cancer Podcast.
I always remember, it's funny because when I used to, as a kid, get tonsillitis, food, we talked about food, how it brings memories. And I had tonsillitis really bad as a kid. And I remember my dad picking me up from hospital. Two things happened. One, he bought me like a little green tractor. And when I was ill with cancer, my sister-in-law bought me a little green tractor because she knew that story. And it's actually in the garden now with the flowers, which is lovely. But also, when I got home, my mum made me tomato soup. And I, even now, and this was when I was 11, and I'm only 21 now, so it's not so far to look back. But I look, every time I smell tomato soup or see tomato soup, it reminds of me dad buying that little tractor and my mum making that tomato soup when I got home. And it's funny how food, again, when it's taken off you, a lot of those memories will go if you can't get it back. So reading your book as I have, even if you've got a smell of something, make it so at least you can have that smell to keep those memories going, because I think that's important as well. So, but I believe the cost of the book is £9.99 plus postage, and that's UK postage, guys, not all around the world. But also you agree to have the money all for the Swallows, which is phenomenal. So, so far, and I would say when we look at the Just Giving page, well, £9.99 is for the book, but I don't think anyone has bid under £15 for the book. And I think the biggest bid we've had is £50, I think, for one book, which, again, neither of us are going to be upset if they want to pay more than £9.99, are we, for the book?
No.
But I think what the Swallows will be doing then is like you referred to earlier, is we're going to make sure we can give patients who don't have the money a copy of the book, which I think that's important. So anybody out there that wants a book, please order it, and Laura's going to tell you how to do that in a minute. Please bid over the £9.99 so we can give patients the book for free. But how do they get the book, Laura?
So they have to go to the Just Giving page, and there's now button on the top right hand of the screen. It's a big button, they don't miss it. And then you put the donation up of a minimum of £11.99. So that's £9.99 for the book and £2 for postage and packaging. And then it should email sharon@theswallows.org.uk. There's your name, your address, and how many books is ordered. Then Sharon will add them to the list. And then they'll send the books out as soon as they get them.
If you can't find the Just Giving page, again, just email Sharon and she can send you the link. And also on the podcast, if you go to the front on the main page, we'll put a little tag there to remind people. And I believe also, as an up-and-coming author and a world star, you're going to sign the first 200 copies.
I am. They'll have a little personal message for me as well.
Yeah. So, and I think I went on to try and get number 1, and I was number 16 on the list, but I posted it, and I thought, right, when I finish posting, I'm going to go on and I'm going to get number 1, and I was 16 on the list. So, and I want to keep that book until I can take it to Antiques Roadshow and triple my money. But yeah, I think you've done a great job, Laura, a fantastic job with the book. I know that we're going to shortly be starting on edition 2. Mm-hmm. I also know that, you're going to be writing your story, and we're going to look at having a book for that as well. And I look forward to that. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the work and the support you do for the Swallows. I know you've already spoke to one of our patients, a lady that was in a similar position as you, not had the operation, but about to go in it. And she's since told me that it was a wonderful conversation, that you really did help her accept what was going to happen to her. So from my point of view, fantastic.
Chris, can you just remind everybody, how can we get our hands on this fantastic cookbook?
Okay, 2 ways you can do it. You can go straight to Just Giving, look for the Swallows page on Just Giving, and you should be able to find Laura's page. Or you can go on our website, and on the home page, there'll be a banner that'll say Cookbook Laura and the title and a bit of a picture. Click on that and it'll take you through. Or you can go to our resources page on the website, and you'll see that tab at the top of the website. Go to books, click on Laura's book, and again, you can order it direct that way.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chris. Laura, can I ask you, are you planning a follow-up book? Are we going to get version 2, episode 2?
I am.
Excellent.
I've been talking to some fellow patients about what they've missed, what they're looking forward to, with regards to food, and so I will add that on. Book 2 will be done.
Excellent. And can I ask you to maybe give some consideration in the future, maybe not necessarily with the next book, but, a lot of the caregivers that are involved with head and neck cancer patients are coming to the stove to cook probably for the first time in their lives. And it's incredibly daunting for some of them. I had one gentleman at one of the Blackpool group meetings say to me, I don't know how to work the stove. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make food, so would it be possible maybe to look at recipes, ideas, tips, hints on how to help the helpless through those initial stages of being able to prepare your food?
Sure, we'll add those in. So in the book now, there are hints and tips of how to do things. There's explanations of terms.
Brilliant.
They have a bit I've added in the equipment I use. So there is no bit of equipment used that no one will have in their kitchen. It's all the basics. And because I wanted to make it as user friendly as possible.
Do you want to just say a few words for the sponsors?
Sure. So the book was fantastically sponsored by not only the Swallows, but also by Berkshire Farm Foods, who do an amazing job in creating 3 different types of foods for people with swallow issues. So there is a wonderful spread on them in the book, and they've just been so helpful and just amazing in what they've brought to the table to help the book get promoted. And the other has been Het Sausages, who do a great range of meat sausages and vegetarian sausages, which were a brand I use, and I love them. I think they're so good. And so that it felt right to ask them to see if they could support me, because it's a brand I use. So thank you so much to Berkshire Foods and Het Sausages for their support with the book.
It's funny, I'd never ever heard of Het Sausages. And I have tried them and they are wonderful. So yeah, and I believe you've even done a sausage recipe, haven't you?
I have. There's a sausage and tomato soup recipe that is just, yeah, it's very nice.
That's brilliant. Laura, I'd like to thank you very much for participating in this little podcast chat today. It's been fascinating hearing your story. It's phenomenal, the work you've put into producing the book. And I know, and I'm sure Chris will back me up on this, I just know it'll be a lifesaver to so many people. It'll make such a difference to their life. So we all owe you a great thanks of gratitude for putting the time and effort in. Chris, it's always a pleasure to share the podcast waves with you. Yes, it is. Would you do me a favour and wrap up this particular podcast with your usual adverts, please, for where to find us, how to get in touch with us?
Yeah. You can get in touch with the Swallows through www.theswallows.org.uk, or you can email sharon@theswallows.org.uk, or you can just ring the 24/7 number 07779 169 833 is my personal one, and the 24/7 07504 725 059 24/7. It'll either be answered by me or it'll answer by Sharon if you're a caregiver. It's open to anybody that's got a problem, wants to talk to someone, give us a call. So, Laura, thank you very much. You're a star.
Yeah, it's always good fun. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Chris. And everybody, if you've enjoyed this particular episode, keep your ears open. We've got another exciting episode coming along in the near future on subjects that you don't normally hear about in the sort of detail we're going to be discussing them. And they are fascinating topics, and they will help you with your head and neck cancer journey. Take care, everybody. We look forward to speaking to you again soon. Bye.
You've been listening to the Swallows Charity Head and Neck Cancer Podcast. For more information, please visit www.theswanows.org.uk. We hope you'll join us again next time.